So now you can see why we're starting this event with mindset. Our first speaker is someone who has devoted over 21 years of their life to personal development and being trained by many of the top coaches who are now celebrities in their own right. People like Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Jack Canfield, Brian Tracy, and Bob Proctor, just to name a few. More specifically, he helps you increase your sales by identifying your blind spots and breaking through your biggest mindset barriers that hold you back from ultimate success. He is a real estate sales and mindset coach, a best-selling author from the book Unleashed, and an international speaker who has even won a Guinness World Record. Without further ado, please, all the way from Toronto, Canada, here is John Toublaris. Give it up.
All right. Thanks, Jason. Wow, what a video that is. That just takes me back to my high school days and my coaches putting me through that, through football, basketball, hockey, and all the sports. Wow, I'm trying to get myself here together after watching that. So thanks again for having this amazing event putting on. Wow, I see so many familiar faces here, and I'm glad you have your cameras turned on. That's really, really awesome. And I see friends from all over, really, North America here. So that's really cool. So I'm just going to share my screen here over here. All right, awesome. All right. Wow, 35 patents. That's something I learned. Wow, that's amazing. Here I was trying to get one patent. I hear someone getting 35, right? So that's amazing.
Once you get one, the others are easy.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I just want to ask everyone here, if you actually put the amount of effort and determination and persistent as Brock just did in that video, can you take more listings than you did last year? Just to raise your hands. Right? Yeah, absolutely, right? So today, what I'm going to be sharing with you is, helping you to take extra 23 listings this year in 2023. So what I'm going to be sharing with you here today is what creates a strong mindset to increase your sales, the psychological barriers to break through, because we understand, and I know in my life and other agents' lives as well, or just human beings for that matter, there are certain psychological barriers that hold us back from achieving that ultimate success. So I'm going to be actually walking you through these psychological barriers, because the more you expand your awareness and you identify what these barriers are, the quicker and the sooner you're able to identify them and break through them so that you can actually take more listings and, of course, increase your sales. And lastly, I'm going to be giving you a free gift. So stay right to the end here, and I'm going to be sharing with you a free gift that's going to really, really help you and empower you this year in 2023. So as Jason mentioned to me, I had a great time spending with Les Brown and Anna Brown, and been traveling with his daughter, which has been amazing. We're learning a lot from her. From Brian Tracy, learning a lot of the principles. Bob Proctor, going to a couple of lunches with him before he passed. Unfortunately, a great mentor of mine. Of course, Tony Robbins, that most of you, or all of you may know. Kevin Harrington, really teaching me about marketing and really branding yourself, which is really important. And of course, spending time in Jack Canfield's house, Chicken Soup for the Soul, you may know him, or The Secret. I had a great time spending time with him. He said, hey, why don't you come over for 90 minutes? But the amount of stories that Jack has, I was there for 4.5 hours in his home there in California. We just had a great time, but really learning from a lot of these people, which then inspired me to write my book here, Unleashed, which became an international, bestseller. And that's where the secrets to break through the 11 mindset barriers to really increase your sales. And, really had a great time being in real estate and selling lots of real estate. However, I'm just going to take you back and just share a little bit about my story here, because obviously it never really started like that. Just a little bit, take you background into my 20s here, my early 20s. I remember one time I was, stuck, down a laneway with my hands on the steering wheel, my old Toyota Corolla. And it was Saturday night, 11 o'clock at night. And really, I was just staring into the trees as I was thinking about, I was $120,000 in debt and only $80 left to my name. And when I really sat there, and I had many creditors, many people I had to owe a lot of money to, Visa cards, payments, maxed out, debt, student loans, everything like that. And I really thought to myself, what do I really do with my life now? And I was really in a deep, dark place at that time in my early 20s. And I really thought to myself, it's like, gee, I really have no way out. So it was Saturday night. And of course, the people I was avoiding the most were my parents. And I really never wanted to go to my parents' house because, again, my ego was getting the best of me. And I said, there's no way I'm going to let my parents know the mess that I've put myself in. However, after I've turned to everyone and there was no one else left, I remember it was around 11:15, 11:20 on Saturday night. I rolled up to my parents' house. I knocked on the door, and there are my parents, Kathy and Ted, sitting on the couch there. And they answered the door and they said, "What is it?" And I said, "Well, I need to speak to you." And I remember turning left into the living room and sitting down in this old wooden brown chair in my parents' living room. And I said, "Mom, Dad, I need to speak to you." And they said, "What is it, son?" I said, "Well, I got myself in a little bit of a mess, and I really need your help." Now, at this point right now, my ego is being shattered. There's no way I would ever say this. And I remember turning to my parents. I said, "Look, I just need some financial assistance. I need some support. I need some money." And my father stands up, and I remember at the time he's watching television. He turns off the TV and he goes, "Son, you got yourself in this mess. You get yourself out of this mess." And I remember he went down the hallway to his bedroom, and I said, Dad, I really, really need your help. I really need your help. And he just shut the door on me and he said, "You figure it out." And I was like, wow. So I turned to my mom and she goes, "Well, you got to listen to Dad." And I was like, okay, well, I'm just thinking, like, I can't go another day. I mean, there's a lot of people I owe money to. And I remember at that time, I knocked on my father's door in the bedroom and I said, "Dad, please just give me one more chance. I really need the support." And just as he was about to go to bed, I just caught him and I said, "Please, just $500. That's all I need, just $500. And he said to me, "All right, I'll give you the $500. By when will you give it back?" Now, me being in my 20s, I hated accountability. I didn't want anyone to tell me by when. And so at that point, I said, "Look, I'll give it to you, I don't know, maybe in a couple months." He goes, "That's not good enough. When are you going to give me back the $500? And I said, "Well, on my first sale." He goes, "When is that going to be?" I said, I really don't know. I'll give it to you back in a month or two, maybe 2 months. He goes, "Okay, 2 months max." And I said, "Okay." So the very next day, it was a Sunday. I spoke to my good friend George and I said, "Look, I'm $500. What do I do? You're a successful entrepreneur." He goes, "You better get into that office tomorrow morning and you better start making calls." I go, "Yeah, but I hate making calls. I don't want to be prospecting." And he goes, "Well, listen, you got yourself the license. What do you think you're going to do? You're going to hope and pray and business is going to come your way?" And I said, "Well, it would be nice, right?" He goes, "Listen, you get into that office, start making calls. I want you to speak to 10 people a day." I go, "10? You're crazy. I'll speak to one." He goes, "One's not going to make a difference. You go in there and you speak to 10 people a day." I said, "Really? Will that really make a difference?" And he goes, "You better go in there." So Monday morning, lo and behold, I went in there and he goes, "You call me by noon." And I said, "Okay." So I called 10 and guess what? I proved them wrong. I proved them wrong that making calls would not work. And so after that, he goes, "Listen, go back in there on Tuesday, get back in there again." I said, "Well, on Tuesday, I made my 10 calls and I called them again. I said, "Hey, guess what? It didn't work." So Wednesday went on, it was the same thing. Thursday, to my surprise, I found a person that wanted to buy, and then I helped that person purchase a home. Of course, I called my friend. I said, "Hey, I found someone who wants to buy." So we did the whole pre-qualification, all that bit, helped them buy the home. And thank goodness it was a 45-day close. So it was just shy of the 60 days. And it was $11,500. And that was just a sign of relief at the time. So I gave my father back the $500, but it was also, I remember I gave him an extra couple $1,000s to say, "Hey, you know what? Thank you very much. Thank you very much for supporting me and allowing me. This will never, ever happen again in my life. It will never." And since that moment, it never happened. I really took that day on like it was like the hugest, like I've been to courses and seminars and you name it, but nothing beat that life experience of me being in that situation, even making phone calls from my parents' house because I couldn't even pay my cell phone bill. So from that moment on, I say, you know what, this is never going to happen. So there are 3 things that I specifically learned on what has helped me over the time with just a piece of the mindset part is that number 1 is take 100% responsibility for your life, right? Take 100% responsibility. Like I thought I can just be reckless. I could just be the way I'm being and, things are, so I learned that, no, you know what? I've got to make those calls. I've got to eliminate the distractions. I've got to release all that junk out of my head and just be consistent and focused every single day, and things are going to work. And so the second thing I learned was that I thought I had a limiting belief that asking for help is weak. I mean, my father I remember being in a funeral when I was, 10, 12 years old, and my father just, gives me a bump. He goes, "Hey, be a man." He goes, "Stop crying." Right. And at that moment, I'm like, okay, I guess I'll be tough. Right. So of course, playing sports, what kind of role I played, right? in all sports. So one thing I learned was, to let go of the ego. And as we see, when you kick over the E, what happens? You go, right? And that for me was huge. Caring what other people thought about me was a big deal. I couldn't speak. There was no way I would ever speak in front of people. And that's a decision I made when I was young. And now I love it, right? So it's a huge difference. So after letting go of what other people thought about me, and that translated into real estate, about making phone calls, because for me, it was like caring so much what other people thought if I was going to make the call. Maybe thought I was going to be desperate for business. Maybe I'm bothering them. But I was desperate. So I just had to call it what it is, and I had to do what I had to do, right? And then the third part was, without the strong accountability, like with my good friend, say, "Hey, go back in there." As you can see, Brock's coach, those of you who saw the video earlier, made a huge difference of him going from the 50-yard zone to the end zone, right? I mean, from the 50-yard line to the end zone, which is a huge difference. So what are we saying in all this is that one thing I've learned is that the reason people fail in real estate or wallow in mediocrity is not because of what they don't know, because that's 10%. That's many courses are out there teaching you the 10%, which is great. You learn the 10%. However, what I've learned is that it's because they emotionally refuse to put in practice the things that they do know. Okay. And that's the emotional part. That's, your emotional intelligence, not your EQ, your IQ, it's your EQ, right? And so what I've learned is I just went on this obsession of how do you master your mindset, right? Mindset is such a vague, it's such a great word, but it's vague as well. But what is it more specifically? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through chapters of my book. And this is where I want you to participate as well. Because as I go through the chapters of my book, I want you to identify which 2 of these psychological barriers are holding you back from earning the success, from the sales, from the listings that you would like to take. That's going to add an extra 23 listings to your sale. So today I'm not going to teach you on, and I just wrote this down for some of you who were saying earlier, tech leads and scripts and social media and database and Mojo. I mean, we got 2 great speakers coming after me here, and they're going to teach you many of those things. But I'm here to identify what are the psychological barriers that are holding you back from success. That again, when you can break through that, you can actually add these 10, 20, 30 listings additionally here this year. So as I'm mentioning the chapters of the book, I just want you to jot it down. And at the end, I'm gonna have you just share just really quickly in the chat, just which 2 of the ones that are really stand out for you that would make a difference in helping you have that quantum leap and take an extra 23 listings this year. So the first one is, crushing your complacency. I was complacent in my time, and I just thought that things were going to turn around for me without doing anything. And as I learned from a great mentor of mine, that complacency is the disease of the human spirit, right? And that just kept over and over and over to me in my mind. So is complacency the one, right? The second one here is distractions. Okay. In chapter 2, I talked about a lot about distractions. Now, distractions was having a big grip on me, because I remember I was in my office, and then, my friend Peter at the office, my former brokerage, was coming in and saying, hey, I know you're about to make your calls, but do you want to go for sushi? And I go, yeah, absolutely. Let's go. Right. And off I went for sushi. The next day, guess what? Hey, you want to go for some pizza? I said, absolutely. Hey, you want to go for some coffee? Absolutely. So, there's a distraction. However, I welcome the distraction, right? I mean, heck, I don't have to prospect, so why not, right? So distractions, having calls coming in when I'm prospecting, or family members reaching out to me, or whatever it is. So distractions for me was a huge thing that really took, the best of me. And what that did for me is that it lowered my productivity. Right. So rather than me being productive, it was actually going downward. So I know from a lot of coaching clients that I really help is that once they have a breakthrough in this, their productivity shoots through the roof. So I don't know, is that the one for you? So again, we're going to be identifying all these psychological barriers, because I'm going to give you a really fun exercise to take on. Next is the stories, let go of the stories that cost you millions, right? So for me, the stories was calling my database. If I call, I went to all these courses, and I knew that I had to call my database, yet my mind was so analytical and thinking like, but what if I call them and think I'm desperate for business? Well, what if they yell at me? What if they say, why are you calling me? Why are you asking for business? And so I had all these stories, I had all these false assumptions in my mind going over and over again. Even though I've been to courses, even though I've been to these incredible speakers and trainers, and, which we all know that we've been to, and they said, hey, call your database, right? Do the pop buys, do this, do that. And I knew to do that. It was the story, my false assumptions and the craziness in my mind that was holding me back from really increasing my productivity level in my sales and my listings, right? Chapter 4 was conquering the fear of rejection. Now, for me personally, the fear of rejection was actually reaching out to for sale by owners, right? Again, I knew that, reaching out to for sale by owners, it was a great thing. Why? Well, what does FSBO stand for? Fastest source of business opportunity. So I knew that, but watch this, knowing and not to do is not to know, right? Leo Bascalia. So the thing is that when I knew that reaching up to FSBOs, I knew that the low-hanging fruit, but knowing for me, well, didn't make a difference, right? Again, it was the fear, it was the anxiety that was built up within me. And I said, there's no way I could reach out. Well, the moment I had a breakthrough in the fear of rejection, and by the way, this is one of the 2 biggest psychological barriers that actually has agents held back. So if you read my book, and I hope you do read my book, is that in this chapter here, you'll learn how to really break through the fear of the rejection, and letting go of what other people care or think about you, which can make a huge difference in being automatic, just reaching out to your database, reaching out to FSBOs, reaching out. Now, some of you have said, hey, I can do that, no problem. I can do that all day, every day. But here's the thing, for the few of you that this is actually going to holding you back. Now, it may not be FSBOs, it may be something else. I know there's some really successful agents on this call. So for you, it may not be FSBOs, it may be something else. So identify, what is that something else? What's that fear that's really holding you back from success? Because again, you can learn all the how-tos, but if you really don't eliminate the barriers that are holding you back, you can only make just a slight change. But to make that quantum leap, these are the types of things you want to psychologically overcome. Because again, we hear mindset so much, and that's what we're not talking about, vision boards and goals, which is all that's important. However, these are the types of things that you want to, overcome or break through that can make a difference. Chapter number 5 is, overthrowing the fear of following up. Gosh, there was no way I would keep following up with a person more than 2 or 3 times. I mean, again, my drunk monkey, as my good friend Matthew Ferry would say, that would take the best of me. That would hold me back from really following up more times than I had to, or that I wanted to. And so this really held me back from success, and really kept my sales really, really low because of this, right? So overcoming this had me obviously speak to more people, doing more follow-ups. And as we know, it's in the follow-up where you book the most appointments, right? Okay, this is the second biggest psychological barrier that I've identified and noticed through human beings. I've spoken to them, all over from Australia to Japan to India to North America, Europe, that I identified. So fear is the biggest psychological barrier. Then number two is procrastination. Now, for me, procrastination was like, yes, I will get that done. I will work on my presentations. Yes, I will do that. But you know what? Chapter number two was always getting the best of me. Distractions, right? Oh no, I'm running out with a buyer. Oh no, I'm going on a showing. Oh, I got to put a lockbox on. Oh, I'm doing this. I'll do that later. I'll do that later. It was, I don't know, maybe if someone's from New Jersey here. I heard this. So if anyone's from Jersey, you may want to let me know. Was there well, there you go, Jason. Was there a bar in New Jersey that said free beer tomorrow? Right? I think I heard something like that. So it says, there's a big sign that said free beer tomorrow. Well, what ends up happening is you show up tomorrow. What does the sign say? Free beer tomorrow, right? You show up the next day on a Saturday, right? Great night for beer. What does the sign say? Free beer tomorrow. So it's the same thing like procrastination, right? It's like, yeah, I'm going to get that done. I'll get going, but then distractions happen, right? So that's why I put distractions in this book. So perhaps procrastination, right? And again, in this chapter, there's strategies in there on how to break through the procrastination so that you can actually, get to that next level. So maybe that is holding you back from getting to the next level or taking an extra, 5, 10, 15, 23 listings, this year. So really, really removing these layers out of the equation could be huge, right? Chapter number 7 is stop making your priorities optional. Now, again, for me, I know you're probably thinking, my gosh, why are you putting yourself down so much, right? No, I'm just sharing you my story, my experience from where I was. So making priorities optional for me was, playing around on social media, right? Tweeting, twatting, all these different things, being on social media on Facebook and all these things. And I said, yeah, I'm working, right? My friend said, hey, how was work? My parents would say, how was work? I'm like, it was a tough day, right? So here it was browsing on social media, posting, commenting on a few things, watching some videos, watching more videos, and wow, it's a tough day, right? And so as soon as I identified that and I increased my levels of awareness, by the way, there are 7 levels of awareness. We're not going to get to that for today's topic, but just know there's 7 levels of awareness. So really identifying that, and then I made instead of going optional, well, guess what? I eliminated the options and I said, there's only one thing to do: build business today, book an appointment today. And that made a huge difference. Because earlier on I had contactitis, it's like when you make 30, 40, 50 contacts, but you have no appointments, right? Then I learned, I said, wait a minute, let me have less contacts, right? More quality sources and more appointments. Well, that makes better sense to me, right? All right, this is a big one, avoidance behavior. Well, for me, again, not making the contacts or the calls and getting myself into this big mess, as you heard my story, is that I kept reorganizing my desk, okay? I kept reorganizing, but the water bottle was there, my mouse was here, I had to look up, I had to make sure my presentation folders, my documents, I had to make sure in the right, the reds with the reds, the greens with the greens, the blues with the blues, in terms of the file folders. I was reorganizing my file cabinets over and over and over again. But guess what? I had a really busy day, right? I worked. Wow, that's a lot of work, right? So the moment I identified that, I said, this is crazy, right? So there was the anxiety that was building up inside me. Once I eliminated that, again, I was, emotionally and mentally free to be able to actually, go out there and take the action and start booking more appointments. Number 9, this is a huge one. I believe this is probably top 1 or top 2, but it's right there up with fear of rejection and procrastination, is your negative self-image. And here's the thing about a self-image, is that you can never, ever, ever, ever outperform your self-image and a negative self-image, right? So I learned from a great book, Psycho-Cybernetics, learning and reading that book over and over and over again, of course, doing work with Bob Proctor and so many others, is that really working on your self-image. So if you really want to have a quantum leap, a real quantum leap, is that you want to abolish, you want to really eliminate the negative self-image, right? What you think about yourself, how you feel about yourself, and really create it from an empowering perspective. And one of the things that I learned from Bob is that, write out your ideal self-image, right? Who you've become. Because at the end of the day, it's not the amount of, the sales and listings, those are great, but it's actually, end of the day, we're rocking on our chair at 80, 90 years old, 100 years old, looking back, it's who we become. So are you proud of the person that you have become in your life, right? Progress and contribution equals long-term happiness and fulfillment. So really creating a positive, a really sharp, strong self-image can allow you to, break through the barriers that are holding you back and really taking the actions in terms of making your calls, booking more appointments, et cetera, et cetera. You'll feel that much more confident about yourself walking into presentations than the one that you held previously on, which is an image, self-image that was not serving you. Chapter 10, my goodness, escaping perfectionism. I remember my broker of record said, John, you've been telling me for the last year, you're going to give me your pre-listing package to give to the sellers. I said, sir, I'm still working on it. He goes, what are you working on? I was like, well, I got to make sure, I got to tweak the colors a little bit. I got to make sure I got the right photo. Every couple of months, I was changing my photos. I was changing the wording on there. I was trying to perfect it. So while it took a whole year to try to perfect this thing, well, I saw other agents, they were just taking listings. So of course I let that go. And I said, here's the thing I said for you. If anyone's a perfectionist out here, here's one thing I want you to write down. Good enough is good enough. All right. That's what I learned. Good enough is good enough. Progress over perfection, right? Progress. Be a progressionist, not a perfectionist. And that's what I learned. Like, the slides that you're looking at is the most glamorous slides you'll probably look at. No, I know there's much better ones, right? But here's the thing, just put it together and present, give them the value, right? And that's what I've learned is that, we got to stop thinking so much about ourselves and start thinking about others. And my perfectionism came because it was thinking about me. Well, how am I going to look like? How am I be perceived like? The moment I started thinking about other people, I said, oh, okay, well, hey, good enough is good enough, right? Deliver, and off we go, right? And the last chapter here, which I think is huge, is terminate toxic relationships. I had to do that with my high school friends. They saw me going to all these, Tony Robbins seminars and conferences and doing these, Date with Destinies and, these other incredible courses with other people as well. And, and they're like, why are you going to these places? Well, like, what are you doing? And I said, okay. And as soon as they told me that over and over and over again, I was like, okay, you know what? I got to cut these guys off. Hey, if they need anything, they need any support, they can reach out to me for anything. But I will not hang out with these types of people. I want people that are about the growth mindset. They don't have a fixed mindset. The growth mindset that we're looking for opportunities, right? So we're looking for the glass is half full, not half empty type of thing, right? So really, is that the thing that is holding you back? So I just want to see here, which of the two, I just want you to choose two. Which of the two that, for you, wow, look at you guys typing in already. Hey, beating me to it. All right. Wow, so much. All right. Procrastination, fear of follow-up, the stories, the distractions. All right. Okay, you guys make me feel a little bit better. I thought it was only me dealing with these things. All right. So distraction, stories, fear of follow-up, drunk monkeys we got here. All right. Hopefully we don't have too many monkeys around here bouncing around. There aren't enough bananas. So we got, love that. Good enough is good enough. Yes. I like that. Tools, growth mindset is everything. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes, only two. That's right. So which ones would be the two? If you had a breakthrough in them, it would dramatically, like you would make a quantum leap in your business. You would really take an extra, 10, 20, what we're here for, 23 listings, this year. Right? So perfectionism, perfectionism. Yeah, absolutely. So what I really want you to do is go to my website. It's absolutely free. Download the book, and here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to those chapters specifically, because we don't have enough time. Jason, how much time have I got? Another 5-10 minutes? Right? So, okay, that's my challenge. I usually speak
5 minutes is about right.
Sorry?
We got about 5 minutes.
All right, good. So I want you to go to those specific chapters because I really want this half hour I'm on here is I want to really make a difference for you. So go to those chapters and read the strategies in there. And I want you to take on the strategies, right? Whatever strategy is there, it's like, okay, well, these are the 2 barriers. So read that and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to take action. It's like a 10, 15-minute read here, right? And then I believe that's going to make a huge difference in having that quantum leap. Look at that. Distractions and procrastination is a big one, and perfectionism. Wow, I should have like an entire course on probably procrastination or distractions. By the way, I do have a 90-day course on these as well. But look at this, drunk monkeys. Yes, we don't have enough bananas. Okay, wow. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to go to my chapters, those chapters there, and just read those 2 chapters. That's all you got to do. Don't even read the whole book. Just read those 2. That's going to make the biggest difference for you. Now, I just want one person to share what was like an aha moment that you just got from actually going through this here. And what's the one action that you can take? I just want one person, one brave soul.
Good enough is good enough.
All right, there you go. All right, thanks for sharing. Thank you. Well, this is exactly what happened with Monica as well. She went from, just selling 15 homes. She was in Florida, and now she's, traveling all over the world. She's been, created a family, and she's been loving it now. Because again, just really helping her and working with her on these barriers, these mindset barriers, has made a huge difference. Vicky from Chicago, she had an 800-person database. She goes, John, I can call FSBOs and expireds. No way I'm calling my database, right? And what ended up happening is she ended up calling her database and earned an extra, 122,000 there in 6 months. And her average commission was over $5,000-6,000. So not bad for that, right? And then we got, Marjorie. Marjorie came to me after being referred from Monica. And, she said, hey, after, having all these psychological barriers being holding her back from success, she's now started taking more listings every single month. And here was the best piece about this. She sent me a photo with her and her children when she was in Disneyland. And she said, John, this is amazing. I would have never have done it without breaking through these barriers, right? And so that was the cool part. When she texted me that, I remember I was watching a ball game and she texted me that, and I was like, wow. That's the fulfillment part of, what we do and what I do for that. So your free gift here, I know we got to take off with an amazing speaker here. I know Gene's coming up. So a free gift here for you. We're going to give you a free strategy session. Okay. So basically what we're going to do in this session, I'm going to review your business, put a system in place, pretty much give you some ideas to really overcome these barriers. And of course, put the sales over 23 sales there. But here's the big one, and what I really help people with is that I'm not going to tell you what to do. You already know that. What I really want to get clear on is that I want to identify and transform the limiting beliefs that hold you back from taking more listings. Now, that's a little different from just telling you what to do. Well, let's see what's in that subconscious mind so we can remove that, right? And then the new ability to break through the barriers and then really have a high increase of motivation and a positive energy level so that you can take your business to the next level and a real step-by-step blueprint so that you can actually add another 23 sales. So the first 10 action takers, if you want to email me there, I'd be more than happy to walk you through on how to get, break through distraction. Like what's chapters in my book, like the distractions, how do you overcome, perfectionism, procrastination, fear of rejection, all the barriers that you have mentioned here. I'd love to walk you through that and really help you to break through so that you can take an additional 23 listings this year. So go right now, email me. The first 10 I'll accept, and then we will go from there. So really, really thank you for being here. This is my YouTube channel. If you want to go on, I'd be more than happy to have you subscribe there. And really, just thank you for being here and having me. Jason, thanks a lot, and I hope you got some great value.
Wow, John, that was outstanding. Thank you so much.